This is the story of Romeo and Juliet. Once upon a time, there were two wealthy families who lived in the town of Verona. The two families, the Montagues and the Capulets, were the tastemakers of the town, but they hated each other and were constantly competing with one another. When the Montagues put a garden gnome on their lawn, the Capulets commissioned Michelangelo to make the statue of David. That's right, David was the original garden gnome. When Lady Capulet got triple D breast implants, Lady Montague got triple E. It was pretty grotesque. And when their middle school-aged children got into squabbles in the schoolyard, they pulled out their swords and killed each other, as rich kids are wont to do. But, as is often the case with senseless murder in the schoolroom, sometimes enough is enough. Whatever happened to the good old days of duking it out with crossbows or spiking the kids' Capri Sun with arsenic, right? So after way too many little kids got put to the sword, the Prince of Verona declared that if another kid murdered his classmate, he would eat his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti. And that did a pretty good job of curbing the homicide rate, because that's creepy as shit. Enter Romeo Montague, entitled Little Prick. He was the kind of kid who would call his mother by her first name or throw a fit when he was forced to wear a codpiece to church. He had a huge crush on this girl, Rosalind, who was part of the Capulet family. She was all he could think about day and night. He thought he was in love, but really, he was just horny. Seriously, this kid would wank it to the Venus de Milo. It didn't matter that she was made of marble or didn't have any arms. She still had a nice rack and some killer abs. One night, the Capulets threw a masquerade party, and Romeo snuck in to hit on the love of his life, Rosalind. The problem was that he was a middle schooler. He didn't realize there was a difference between a costume party and a Renaissance masquerade ball. So he came dressed as Batman, stuck out like a sore thumb. Enter Juliet, Capulet's daughter. She was one of the only 13-year-olds with boobs. She was also dressed like a total slut. Obviously, Romeo immediately forgot about Rosalind. Romeo and Juliet fell desperately in love with one another. And this wasn't your normal kind of let's date for 3 years and get to know one another and build a strong relationship kind of love either. This was true love. This was a kind of let's meet at a costume party and get knocked up in the back of a 2005 Buick LeSabre kind of love. But Romeo got caught, and it caused a huge scandal because he was a Montague. Capulet wanted to kill him right then and there, and he was spared by Capulet's wife because, damn it, Bernie, are you gonna take the rug to the dry cleaners to get the blood out? So Romeo ran away and came back in the middle of the night to Juliet's balcony. This is when she famously asked, "Wherefore art thou, Romeo?" Little did she know this would later become a question on OkCupid to weed out idiots. So, Romeo and Juliet snuck away and got married. In order to be together, Juliet decided to roofie herself and wake up 2 days later. I mean, it had already happened to her once, so how bad could it be? But Romeo didn't get the memo, so he killed himself. When Juliet woke up and found Romeo dead, she stabbed herself with a dagger. So they both died. Kids, right? Come back next week for the tale of how the Grinch stole $40,000 from a fucking nursing home. Gra comes from the ancient word gra, which means puke, and also, incidentally, parade, because the two went hand in hand.